Do we want to get in this discussion of what the best sport is?
Sure, why not?
All right. I want you to go first, though. Why is baseball the best sport?
Well, for one thing, it's made in USA, so we know that all of the best things are made in USA. No, that's not actually the big reason. I
Hmm.
think for most of the other major sports,
Hmm.
it requires a particular type of person to be great.
Okay.
Like if you picture a football player in your head, there's like two body types that you picture. You know, your running backs and your quarterbacks are lean and fast.
Depends.
Depends. And your linemen are massive and bulky. Also depends. But that's typically what you picture when you picture a football player. When you picture a basketball player, tall, skinny, black guy. That is kind of what you picture when you're like, oh, think of all the best basketball players. Well, Shaq, who's not skinny anymore, but he's still incredibly tall. Uh, Charles Barkley, Michael Jordan. Oh, Larry Bird. There's a white guy. But LeBron James, uh, Kobe,
Hmm.
Kareem, all those guys that are just really tall and narrow and have like hands that are like the size of a huntsman spider.
It does benefit. It does benefit you.
It does.
My hands are
And
big,
that's
but not that big.
and the game lends itself to that.
Hmm.
Like with what the game is. Baseball? Well, hockey, it's a bunch of burly Russian dudes strapping on blades and making as hard a contact with each other on the ice as possible and also getting the puck into the goal. Like
It
I see
really
the
has.
hockey players, I don't see a lot of variation in body type in hockey players. Except maybe the goalies might be a slightly different.
We're gonna get a lot of dislikes from the Canadians because you qualified all hockey players as Russians.
Canadians too. It's not just Russians, but Russians
Hmm.
are the best hockey players. And if Edmonton, when Edmonton's team is like 85% Russian guys, you don't get to claim anything else.
Perhaps. Wasn't Gretzky Canadian though?
I think he was Canadian born, but Gretzky is a Russian name. Or maybe Polish. I don't know. Somebody's going to lambaste me for potentially getting his heritage wrong. The great one.
Someone's gonna lambaste you for plenty more than that, but
I'm going to get in trouble for a lot more. But
yeah.
then, when you think about soccer, they're all like 5'11" and 6% body fat.
Hmm.
Soccer players kind of all look the same too. But then you look at baseball. You can be tall like Jackie Robinson. You can be, fat like Babe Ruth. You can be skinny. You can be short. You can be broad. You can be narrow. Anybody can play baseball. But you're not necessarily limited in what you can do in baseball by your height or your weight.
Hmm.
Because baseball has something for everyone to do that anyone can do. As long as you can catch and throw a ball, you can play baseball.
Anyone from Manny Rivera to Prince Fielder. So it's the most inclusive sport. Um,
But inclusive in the right way.
mhm.
It has a place for everybody. It doesn't make places for people.
Yes. We don't hand you a seat at the table, but you are welcome to try. What else, though?
It's made in USA.
All right.
But also, I think, for one, it's a gentlemanly sport. Like, fights have broken out over baseball. I'm not going to pretend that hasn't happened.
Hmm.
But the, and this is on the fan side as well, the image of the typical baseball fan
Hmm.
is sort of what would be the stereotypical baseball fan is a lot different than the image of the stereotypical football fan. I think
This is true.
fans have a tendency to be a lot less obnoxious and loud, and they're not mouth foaming troglodytes. And now all the football fans hate me. I like football. Don't get me wrong.
In baseball, you come to watch the game and the mascot. In football, you could say that you come to watch the game and be the mascot.
Yeah. But baseball fans don't typically go into the stands with their faces painted and and all that. That's at least not what I've seen from games that I've seen on television and from the game that I went to. But that also was because I was in a stadium full of Canadians and Cardinal fans. And Cardinal fans are objectively the best fans in baseball.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not just me saying that. Pretty much everybody has said Cardinal fans are the best fans in baseball.
I would disagree, but I have no basis on which to do so. So
you will rarely hear booing in Busch Stadium.
All right.
When the opposing team scores a home run, we stand up and cheer.
What about when the Cubs beat you 11-0?
Then we're a little upset. There's exceptions to every rule. It wouldn't be a rule if there weren't exceptions to it.
Of course. I'll believe that, yeah, they're the best fans of baseball. I can think of certain franchises where I can't say that for sure.
Boston! Anyway. So there's also there's a sense that kind of everybody has. I think everybody that loves baseball knows it, but I don't think everybody would be willing to admit it. And I'll word it this way. The pitcher may throw the ball, and the batter may hit the ball, but God decides where it lands. And that's what I mean when I say there are still so many different variables of chance involved.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can continually change out your pitchers. You can analyze them, try to find their tells all you want. But when you hit that ball, it's God that decides where it lands. Whether it lands in an outfielder's glove and you're out, or whether it goes over the fence and you hit a home run.
It's an interesting way to look at it.
Or you're at Fenway Park and it just smacks into that giant ugly wall that they built 80 years ago.
Tradition, history.
Which is the other great thing about baseball.
Mm-hmm.
There's tradition and there's history in baseball that I don't necessarily see at other sports. Like with basketball, at least not baseball fans seem to care as much about the history of their sport as they do about the current landscape of the sport. Evenly. I don't know that I've ever met a hardcore football fan that really cares at all about the history of football.
Depends.
The majority of the football fans that I've met really only care on a season-by-season basis who is playing and who wins, because it's about the competition. And there's a kind of virtue to that. Basketball fans, especially in recent years, I think care a lot more about old school basketball than they do about today's basketball. Like, I think a lot of guys are going to be talking a lot more about, at least what I hear, is a lot more guys talking about the glory days of Michael Jordan and Shaq and Charles Barkley than they do as much. Now, they still talk a lot about Steph Curry, and he deserves to be talked about. And they'll talk a lot about Kobe, and he deserves to be talked about. And they may talk about LeBron, and he, for both good and bad reasons, deserves to be talked about. But it just doesn't feel the same. And that could be because there's not as many basketball fans around where I am. because there's not as much of a geographic love of basketball as there would be. Like, geographically, I got like 2 options for basketball, and that's the Bulls and the Thunder. Also, people can reminisce about all the Game 7s and all the Game 3s and all the Game 5s.
Mm-hmm.
Babe Ruth is still great. And people still care about it. Joe DiMaggio is still great.
There is something to having a 7-game series over the one single game, I think.
I think it gives you a better chance to get to know your opponent, of there being a back and forth in terms of how they play.
So, for my own list, I had an idea of like a couple that it would be, and then that list grew to a few more, and I created a set of criteria to kind of evaluate the sports. And I played my one Dominic Trump card that I played, the sport that is excluded arbitrarily because I say I can, is soccer. Although if I hadn't done that, it would have been in the top 4. It would have been in the top 4 for sure. So my first rule in terms of what makes the best sport is that it has to be noble. What do I mean by noble? I mean that there has to be a noble end to it. I'm eliminating things with this like power slap, which is one of the dumbest ideas I've ever heard of in my life.
That's not even a combat sport. That's just watching men slap each other in the face.
Mm-hmm. That's like, the NFL got rid of too much CTA. We can make up for that somehow.
That's rugby's not violent enough. There's not enough head injuries in rugby, so we need to watch them happen in slow motion.
Yep.
From across the table. This
also gets rid of most esports. The one I can think of in my head that would be an exception is Gran Turismo Live. Because if you get a chance to watch those,
because that's an e-motorsport.
It's an e-motorsport. That's actually pretty cool.
Isn't that actually the one that they actually drafted a Formula One driver out of as well? There was a movie about that a while ago.
There was a movie about it. I'm pretty sure back when they were getting the league going, there was a Formula 3 or Formula E, whatever, driver that was like one of the big winners early on. And not that he like never won after that. His name was Igor Fraga from Brazil. So maybe he went up to Formula 1 or some other Formula thing, or they did draft somebody out of it. I guess I can't say, but it would not be surprising. That racing game is also realistic enough that would make sense. But I digress.
Mm.
Sports like this just get eliminated because you can't be in the cornhole. Cool sport. Never going to be in this conversation ever. It also has to have talented players. So if a sport was really, really good, but there aren't a ton of like really talented people playing it, I wouldn't count it for this. And I'm not thinking of any examples that off the top of my head right now, but the talent pool has to be wide enough. There have to be enough people playing it that are elite at it. Number 2, it has to be fair. So when we think of like the best video games, the best ones are where anybody can come in and your ability to pay to win is limited at best. So one of Ethan and I's favorite games is Helldivers. You can buy packs of skins, cosmetics, upgrades, weapons, and such, but you don't need to buy many of them, and you actually reasonably can get the currency in game by just playing to buy the ones that you want. And then you can ignore the rest. Another one we really like is...
You can also do pretty reasonably well in just with the base stuff that they give you and not have to go any farther.
This is true. Deep Rock Galactic is another game we like that is pretty similar. This is where I exclude baseball, though, because baseball does not have a salary cap. There's no reason that my Twins, and I know your team has won like 9 World Series, so maybe this is a foreign concept, but there's no way the small market teams can really compete. Every now and again they do. Like the Diamondbacks made the World Series a few years ago. That's a big deal because They are not expected to get that far.
Mm-hmm.
This year, what did we have? We had the team that could afford to pay Shohei Ohtani $700 million. But, we'll be nice because he wants to be nice. We'll defer $680 million of it. We'll till after his 10-year contract. We'll just pay him $2 million a year so we can load up the roster even more.
I remember you telling me about that.
And then, by the way, who do they have to run up against in the World Series and beat? Such a poor market, underpaid team known as the Yankees. The one time you'll ever hear the Yankees even remotely compared with that label, because they're playing the Dodgers.
Underpaid. Yes.
Like, it's just not fair.
Yeah.
It's a great sport in many other ways. If they fix the salary cap problem, they automatically become one of the top 4, top 3 sports potentially, in at least in my ranking. But you don't even get to advance in the discussion if your sport is not fair in that level. This also kind of rules out basketball, because while basketball isn't the same type of offender that Major League Baseball is, they do have a salary cap, but they let you go over it. You just have to pay a luxury tax to go over it. So it does favor big market teams as well, and there's not much diversity, relatively speaking, in terms of which teams have actually won championships. So the Celtics and the Lakers account for way too many of them, and we didn't even mention the Bulls with Jordan.
Yeah.
Who got 6. So anyway,
I will later have a counter to your no salary cap argument. That's more of a moral one, or more of a personal thing. But I'll let you finish.
Okay.
This is it's going to be my own personal justification for leaving baseball at the top.
Okay. So the remaining criteria I have basically boil down to it has to be strategic on both a team level and individual level, and it has to be challenging physically and mentally on a team and individual level, and there has to be tradition to it. The more tradition, the better. This leaves me with 3 sports to evaluate by those, and hockey, American football, and golf. And I didn't know how that comparison was going to come out, so I tried to put together my own spreadsheet of, okay, here's like subcategories within the ones I just listed off. Here's how I'm kind of weighting them. Here's the score on a scale of 1 to 5 that I give each of them. And briefly, if I just go down my semi-scientific way of doing this, because it's very subjective and the weighting could change. Golf is the most traditional. It goes back way longer than anything else. Hockey is second best at that because of the Stanley Cup and time.
Yeah.
Environment, a mix of both the climates you play in and the crowds stadiums in which you play in. Golf and football are tied for me in that one. The lack of luck needed. I think that if your sport rewards you for being lucky, that's a negative. And this is a knock against hockey, because even though they're insanely talented, even though there's a lot of strategy and such, even though it's a phenomenal team sport, to a degree, you are just hoping that a puck squirts by the goalie per some crazy bounce. So football wins that one. Golf in second. Football wins on the amount of...
I will give football one of the most strategic of the American pro sports. I will give it that.
And it does win on that front for me as well. Physical challenge, hockey wins. Mental challenge, golf wins. And then an odd one to throw in for a comparison that involves golf is like team synchronization. So basically, I ended up penalizing golf and
for being a single player sport, basically.
Yeah. Football wins that one a little bit over hockey, but hockey is a really great team sport too. But in football, you have more people that need to work together. You have more cohorts of people that need to work together. An offense, a defense, a special teams. Even if there's one really important player, like the quarterback, that can make or break your team in a lot of ways, he can't win all of your games for you. or at least it's really hard to. If he could, the Buffalo Bills would have potentially a couple Super Bowls by now, but they don't yet. I do kind of like it. Hockey's a phenomenal team sport too because you've got fewer players, like 20 about, but they're coordinated in different lines. You don't pause the game to change lines, like the game's still going, so 5 people get off the ice, 5 people get on and immediately swing stuff. But where hockey suffers a little bit is the fact that no matter how good your team is, no matter how good your team's playing, if the opposing goalie gets on a heater, you're screwed. If you just, like, sometimes that just happens and you cannot get a puck past him and you're frustrated because you know you're playing better, but it just ain't your night because it's his night. That's just the way it goes.
Yeah.
So more pieces have to line up for the football team to perform well in a game than a hockey team does in a game. When you add all that up and the weighting and all this stuff, I ended up finding that American football won. But I did also note that the way that I did the scoring, if I remove the team sync category from it,
hockey?
then golf and football are tied at the top. I think more people. I think the world would be better if more people watched golf than do. And I understand how you can compare it to watching paint dry, as many people have joked.
I've watched golf a few times. I don't mind it. My wife can't stand it, but I don't mind it.
Well, fair enough. But we live in too fast-paced a world that is too fast-paced, and we do need some sports to balance that in our lives. And we also should play sports that challenge us to the level mentally and physically that golf does. And it's accessible to anybody. If you play golf long enough, you know what I'm talking about. So whether you ride or walk, whether you're competitive, whether you're not, whether you have 1 beer or 6 during the round, like there's something special about golf. There really is. So I didn't know how that was going to shake up, but it shook out as American football being the top for me.
That's a solid choice. I was probably going to give that. I would give American football second place in mine after baseball.
You are a good American.
Then hockey would be a close third. I think it's mostly because I don't tend to count. Not that the non-team sports don't count to me as sports. It's that my brain divides them into a different kind of category.
Mm-hmm.
So things like golf, tennis, pickleball, which is a professional league now.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Not surprising, but
there's professional pickleballers. It's actually more entertaining to watch than tennis, in my opinion.
I believe it.
I think because the ball in tennis, the ball doesn't make as much of a sound when it hits the racket or when it hits the court as it does in pickleball. Like the pickleball paddle against the ball actually makes a really satisfying noise. Which is another reason I like baseball and golf so much is because when the bat hits the ball, there's that thwack.
Mm-hmm. When you hear it sound good.
When you hear it,
mm-hmm.
And you can tell that it's going over the wall.
Yep.
And you can just watch it. And there's something to being in the stands and sort of everything being quiet. And the batter swings, you hear the crack, and you just watch the ball. It's like everything goes into slow motion. And the farther back it goes, it keeps going and going, and everybody stands to their feet. And it hits that back fence, or it goes over that back wall, and everybody just cheers.
Mm-hmm.
I acknowledge and concede your point about there not being salary caps in Major League Baseball, and I think that's ridiculous, and it's absurd, and it needs to change.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if they were to do that, well, for one thing, I think Ohtani would probably just go back to Japan.
Yeah, they're screwed with him. They can't redo that meaningfully anytime soon.
No.
And not even because of him, because Soto signed a 13 years, $700 million deal with the Mets.
To me, that's not a poor reflection on the sport because I'm taking the sports for what they are. I'm not taking them as I'm not taking the professional leagues as the be all end all of the sport. Because we now have 2 football leagues. We also have the UFL, and the rules are slightly different. And the operation and the games are done in a slightly different way. There's there's minor league baseball, which is slightly different than how Major League Baseball is. But the core heart and soul of the sport is what I tend to judge a sport by.
That's a very good point, because to your point, if you just evaluate it on like the pure sport itself, or like, how would I go do this with my friends if I had enough friends for whatever the sport is? Like, baseball easily beats football in that scenario.
Although what I will say is that the easiest sport just to get a couple guys together and go out and have a pickup game is basketball.
This is true, but it's not the same.
But
if it's just a couple guys.
There's like, it's not the same, but it can still be enjoyable.
Mm-hmm.
You try playing a game of baseball with 4 people.
Yeah, not going to work. But I did qualify what I said, I guess.
You need at least 18 people total to have a baseball game.
Mm-hmm.
Or a softball game. But no, I was judging the sports for what they are, because if you judge a sport itself based purely on its professional league and on the league commission, then that's like judging a nation entirely on the basis of its government, which I wouldn't do. I judge a nation on its people. Now, sometimes a government is a reflection of the people, but I judge them I judge baseball on its culture, on its players, and on its fans than I do on the league and the people that run it as a whole. So there not being a salary cap doesn't actually bother me all that much.
I mean, if you admit that frame of mind as the way you're judging the sports, it's hard to argue with you.